This morning, I'm talking about meditation and concentration. If you have spent any time over the last few days watching the media and seeing what's going on, particularly in this country, you realize how chaotic we are as a country, certainly as a country. So I couldn't help but think what a perfect day that we are going to talk about meditation and concentration. So set everything else aside, turn off your TV if you're at home, don't leave your computer screen and check your email. Just stay concentrated and learn today about our approach to meditation and the importance of concentration. The simplest way to define meditation is to say that it is an exercise to control your thinking the way you want. Can you imagine? Well, I can't. The protesters out there, the police force out there, the security guards, even the little police dogs, those beautiful German shepherds. Can you imagine having a disagreement with the occurrence that took place a few days ago? And the result of that occurrence is handled as the result of people who know how to meditate and concentrate. What a different experience this would be. Of course, that event probably wouldn't have happened anyway then. So I'm going to say this again, so you really have a very simple, very succinct definition to what meditation is. The simplest way to define meditation is to say that it is an exercise to control your thinking the way you want. If the mind thinks through you, you're lost. But if you use the mind to think through the mind, if you use the mind to think through the mind, then you're a winner. The first choice being if the mind thinks through you, is slavery. This is a choice in which your subconscious mind thinks and controls you. The other choice being if you use the mind to think through you, this is when you are controlling your subconscious mind. You're emptying it like a rubbish can and eventually end the control and power that the subconscious mind has over your actions and feelings and thoughts. So that's it in a nutshell. But I'm going to go on. I have some other things to say. A scattered person. Let's think about this. We know a lot of scattered people today. A scattered person, when they enter into the subtle world, such a person has no focus of consciousness because they're scattered. It's like a scattered person is like drifting clouds. You can see the formation of a galaxy in much the same way. A galaxy comes into existence and becomes a system after a nucleus appears at the center of the nebula and begins to take charge of all parts of the galaxy. I can't help but take this idea as an image of a group coming together, that A group comes into existence after a nucleus appears at the center of the nebula and then begins to take charge of all parts of the galaxy. Beings come in. You have a center, you have a nucleus. That nucleus is a magnetic core, and that magnetic core is magnetized by hierarchy. It's magnetized by a master. It's magnetized by a great idea that the master has imbued or infused in that nebula. And that's what creates the magnetism. Now, at the same time, when we think about the cosmic magnet, the heart of the universe, there are enlightened beings. To a certain degree, they start as an aspirant, a disciple, an advanced disciple, and an initiate, and then a person who's part of the heart of a master. They are drawn to this idea. And pretty soon, as these individuals collect physically, they collect astrally, they collect mentally, they collect in the Buddhic plane, all coming together, soon a galaxy takes place. Imagine such a group. This group takes time, it takes incarnations to formulate, the same as a galaxy and the planets and the stars. It takes time. It builds and builds and builds until finally that group, like a galaxy, becomes an outpost of hierarchy. Isn't that amazing? And that group is made of meditators, people who think. Now, without concentration or focus, there is no identity. So concentration and focus is important to practice in your life if you want identity, not only as an identity as a human being, but if you want your creative works to have an identity. Sometimes people will put a lot of their time and energy into a creative object, what they believe is a creative activity, and yet it has no identity, it has no core, it has no purpose, it has no radiation, and poof, it's gone. Nobody remembers it, nobody thinks about it. But if when you are creating that object, you are concentrated on the purpose of that object. In other words, the phone rings, you don't hear it. Someone knocks at your front door, you don't hear the knock. Some thought of another person comes into your brain and you cast it aside because you are so concentrated on that object that you are creating that it becomes an identity. Without concentration or focus, there is no identity. If there's no identity, there's no unity or yoga. Without concentration or focus, there is no yoga. Yogis are those, now think about Agni yoga. Most of us are striving to become an Agni yogi. A yogi or yogis are those whose consciousness are withdrawn into their core. Their consciousness is withdrawn into their core with intense concentration and focus. That is a yogi. They're not scattered. They don't take an idea and decimate that idea. A person who is scattered will take an idea and chop it into pieces and put that piece over there and that piece there and that piece there and that piece here and so forth. So there's no identity, there's no energy, there's no nucleus, there's no focus, even though it started out as a beautiful idea. So they scattered it. A yogi is one whose consciousness is withdrawn to their own core with intense concentration. From that center, they rule and affirm their power. The more scattered you are, the less power you have. The more scattered you are, the less power you have. The more scattered you are, the less identity that you have. High achievement is unification with your true self. The real self within every human being is part of what we call the all self. So that is why when a person becomes one with the self, all self-interest vanishes. And the person works and lives for the welfare of all, because they are aware that all selves are part of the great self of the universe. It's very interesting when you take a person of true power, spiritual power, those that are making tremendous changes, transformational changes in the world today. We see that they are going to be attacked by the forces of darkness. Forces of darkness work through weak people, people who are scattered, who don't have an identity, who do not have concentration. But that person of power is never distracted by those dark forces. They walk right through what we call the valley of the shadow of death. They walk right through it, and they become successful because they have concentration and focus. And because of concentration and focus, they have identity, and that identity is imbued with their true self, which is part of the all self, the great self in the universe. When we realize the ephemeral nature of objects and events, and it takes maturity, a spiritual maturity. It's like one of the questions we ask in our meditation courses, do you have spiritual maturity? You should see the answers. It's so humorous because they don't know what spiritual maturity is yet, but you will. Spiritual maturity is when you slowly withdraw yourself from these ephemeral events and objects and concentrate, focus, concentrate on the capital S self. So meditation is a process that creates intense concentration on higher and higher levels. Intense concentration on higher and higher levels. So you're not going to stay at one level. Taking this step and the next step, but each step is of a higher frequency. It is more refined. It includes more the subtle realms of sensitivity that most of us in the mundane world are blind and deaf to. So I'm going to repeat this. Meditation is a process that creates intense concentration on higher and higher levels and eventually helps you find your focus. Concentration has 5 stages. First stage is mental concentration. What's next is very interesting. The next 2 points are very interesting to me. So we have mental concentration and then devotion. Devotion is part of concentration, one of those 5 stages. of concentration, devotion. The next is dedication, which makes sense. So you have the first three is mental concentration, devotion, dedication. Then you have meditation, and then withdrawal into the capital S self. So those are the 5 stages of concentration. Mental concentration, devotion, dedication, meditation, and withdrawal into the capital S self. It's all concentration. Your human soul is going to slowly train his vehicles and will eventually move into that 5th stage, the withdrawal into the self. Meditation opens new dimensions for us. But if your human soul, for your human soul where your soul is going to withdraw through clear thinking. So that's another point to really think about when you ask yourself, why can't I concentrate? Why am I unable to devote myself to a plan or to an idea or to a concept or in a way of faith? Why am I unable to devote myself to anything except to me? And then why do I find myself starting this and then stopping it, starting that and then stopping it? Why do I lack dedication? When I started meditation, I was so excited about it, and then 10 years later, I found myself, I wasn't meditating at all anymore. I lost my devotion and dedication to the practice of meditation. See, you're missing some of those 5 stages, and the result is part of your life is scattered. Somewhere, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you have become scattered. Meditation opens new dimensions for your soul, where your soul can withdraw through clear thinking and through establishing contact with higher realms. For example, seed thought meditation. Seed thought meditation is also known as active meditation. I really like that. The combination of seed thought meditation in combination with active meditation, it gives you that connotation or that image of movement, whereas typically people identify meditation with no movement, right? No movement. You sit, you're still, you're like a stiff board. But the kind of meditation that we're talking about here is active meditation. Active meditation is not only an effort to find your answer to a question, but also an effort to solve and dissolve your problems. That's active meditation. In meditation, you not only develop your capacity to solve your problems, but you also develop a state of consciousness that is used to solve the problems of others and train them how to solve problems for themselves. Meditation is inclusive thinking, not exclusive. It is inclusive thinking to provide the ways and means to help ourselves and others expand our consciousness and solve our problems. One thing I was thinking about on the way over here today about concentration and meditation and the process of solving our problems and recognizing that the way these problems are solved is through inspiration. This inspiration comes from your higher mind, the light of the higher mind, from the chalice sometimes. But if you are tired, don't take that moment of being so tired and trying to be inspired in such a way that you can resolve a problem, go rest. Go rest. I've had enough experience with this. I've experimented with it actually the last year, and I just find it so incredible to recognize how when I'm not tired, how sharp I am. And when I'm tired, it's like taking, let's say, several notes in measures that create a beautiful sonata. When you're tired, some of those notes disappear and you can't hear them. And so even though you think you're coming up with a solution to a problem, you're missing some of the harmonies that create the resolution and dissolution of the problem. And then you wonder, why is that problem still here? Why is it existing? Because you were trying to solve it when you were tired. This has just been my experience, and the experience was based on an experiment that I've tried for a year, so I know it works in magical, incredible ways. I wish I could sit down and tell you how I've done it, but anyway, it's very real. So it's just a simple thing is if you are, if you have a serious problem, or that you're working, say you're a counselor or a spiritual teacher or a leader of some capacity, and you are there to help someone else work through a problem and help them resolve the problem, if you're tired, don't do it. Because some of those notes that will help toward a harmonious resolution are going to be missing, and the problem is still going to be there. At least parts of the problem will still be there. Meditation is inclusive thinking, I said, not exclusive, but inclusive. Now I'm going to shift a little bit and tell you a story. About 10 years ago, my office manager passed after having been diagnosed 6 weeks earlier of cancer. Up until that time, I was dependent on her for all things in the world of technology, for hardware, for software, for our website, and so forth, keeping our computers and software up to date. I didn't have to worry about anything like that because she was just right there. She had a real sharp mind and was a thinker. So I didn't ever have to think about it. And then in 6 weeks' time, she was gone. Since that time, there have been a handful of people teaching and educating me and so forth as technology races into more advancing complexities. At least that is how it seems to me. Some of those handful of people tell me just enough, but they also withhold information in such a way that I must continually go to them for help. Now, this can be not only true in my situation, but in your situation, where you find yourself being dependent on others. They've taught you something, but held back something else. So it requires you to continuously go to them. Hey, can you help me? Do you know this? And they'll say, I'll do it for you. See, like my friend with that sharp mind, great, I don't want to have to learn this technology, but then there came a time I had to learn it. Others, those who had infinite patience with me, would give me the nuts and bolts of what I needed, and then they would give me a chance to practice, and then return later to see what kind of help that I needed. Those helpers, those co-workers are the thinkers, the meditators. Each and every one of them meditate every single day. In meditation, we are not occupying ourselves with our problems. but are trying to raise our consciousness. In this case, they saw a need. So they're resolving problems because of a need. The need created the purpose. They are in meditation. I'm going to repeat myself. In meditation, we are not occupying ourselves with our problems, but trying to raise our consciousness to a higher level of knowledge and higher principles. And this is how we expand our consciousness. These co-workers have all said to me, as I help you and learn, as I help you to learn this and that, I too am learning more and more. Meditation supplies light and principles to our thinking. Those who meditate do not use their mind against freedom, against beauty, or against joy. The thoughts of those who meditate are pure and clear and correct and simple to the point. Simple to the point. And this is why today, through the help of such beautiful co-workers, I am now pretty computer savvy, at least for today. 6 months from now, it'll be a whole different software world. But for now, I'm pretty computer savvy. They did not mislead me or give me wrong answers. Sometimes we would work through a problem together, and together we would find the answer. That process is always so beautiful because we are learning together. Meditation does not create thought forms that are against fact or against reality. But thinking can be used to fabricate things. See, that's when the mind enslaves us. When we use thinking to fabricate things, fabrication is usually due to ego and vanity, to glamour and illusion and fears. It is through meditation that we become able to enter a new kingdom and be a member of a new race, a member of the new era, a new state of consciousness. Until people meditate, they will not have any inspiration to strive toward a new state of consciousness, a new state of consciousness that's going to be different from human consciousness. Just like human consciousness differs from animal consciousness. See that? There's a dear friend who has worked for 5 years in a very demanding physical job. It was a new field for him where he started from scratch, learning about landscaping and road construction. His boss over that 5-year period would yell at him about his failures, about not doing this or that fast enough. And yet, the boss would not teach him how to improve or how to do this or that element of the job. Nor would he encourage him when he did something right. Nor would he show gratitude to him for his loyalty to the job. The boss would belittle him on a continuous basis, where my friend was struggling to sustain just a morsel of self-worth. Then one day a new person joined the team and was just the opposite from the boss. The new person was a natural teacher with many years of experience in the field. He would take his time to teach my friend all aspects of the job. Slowly, my friend began to recover his confidence and sense of self-worth, recognizing that it was a gift, an opportunity, a gift to learn new things and to try out new things, to figure out and resolve problems. It wasn't about failure in getting things done at warp speed, but instead it was organization and dedication and the willingness of someone who would teach him how to broaden his knowledge. No one advances by measuring his worth by his failures and being punished for his failures. A person advances when they set new goals and successfully accomplish those new goals. Each accomplishment finds them expanding their consciousness. This new state of consciousness can be attained through regular, rhythmic, continuous prayer, concentration, and meditation. I said that concentration has 5 stages: mental concentration, devotion, dedication, meditation, and withdrawal into the capital S self. Concentration means to focus your consciousness on a subject without turning your attention anywhere else. See, you can't try to drive this point home. What happens? This is the typical human reaction. When you're given an idea and told to develop that idea, what typically happens is that your mind says, okay, I recognize certain things in that idea. Let me take this idea, extract part of it, and put it over here. And then I'm going to take another part and put it over here because it triggers a memory in the brain. And that memory says, it's going to do better over here. It's going to do better over there. And pretty soon, that idea no longer has a nucleus. It's dissipated. See, there's that scatteredness. It's a lack of concentration. Instead of taking, let's say, a straight line, you're going this way, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until the idea evaporates. And the pieces of the idea are still floating around like a cloud. And you know what happens? They come back in your next incarnation. That idea comes back with you in your next incarnation. And once again, what happens is you only have a piece of that idea. So it's failure. Until you gather all those pieces together again and make a galaxy out of it. So concentration means to focus your consciousness on a subject without turning your attention anywhere else. This is a very important part of meditation. Do not hurry on any stage which you are developing. Do not hurry. Master M says, make haste slowly, and this is why. Try to master it as much as possible and then proceed on to the next stage. But you can remain on each stage for 1 or 2 years. Remember that you are building the foundation for future great success. Meditation occurs once you have success with all 5 stages of concentration. Active meditation is a major step in our life. Real breakthroughs into higher planes of consciousness can be achieved through this state of meditation when correctly exercised daily for 10 to 15 minutes. Human nature has 2 wings. One wing is physical, emotional, mental. The other wing is spiritual. If we want to balance our nature and to be ourselves, whether it's an individual, a group, a nation, a humanity, we must cultivate both sides of our nature to be healthy. So here's a simple example. Every morning we eat our breakfast. A must for most of us. Even if we do not eat breakfast, we must eat lunch or dinner. The reason is because we need energy on a daily basis, physical energy to nourish our physical side. But the spiritual side of many people is starving. The spiritual side is starving. During the majority of our life, people in general never stop to partake of spiritual food or to accumulate spiritual energies. If they emphasize their physical body too much, it begins to control. That physical body begins to control the emotional and mental bodies. In other words, the mental and emotional bodies become servants to satisfy what the physical body wants. If the body wants sex, the emotions and minds say, "We'll help you." And they do. If the body wants food, they procure it. If it wants pleasure, they serve it. This way, the whole person regresses because the higher nature is not functioning properly. We are not only a physical entity, but also a spiritual entity. Both sides of our nature must be nourished so that we maintain a balance, first within ourselves and then within nature. Nature also has two sides, the energy side, right, and the matter side. That's nature. Matter and energy, consciousness and form balance each other. All of nature exists and continues to exist because of the balance between matter and energy, or between form and spirit. Meditation nourishes our spiritual nature. That's a fact. Meditation nourishes our spiritual nature. It is like eating spiritual food. The food that is consumed during meditation is inspiration, it's enthusiasm, it's joy, it's courage, it's pure thoughts, it's devotion, it's dedication, it's striving, and so on. People think that these foods are just emotion or fancy words, but they are all forms of spiritual nutrition. For example, when you feel enthusiastic, you become like a light. Even if the body feels hungry, it does not matter, because your enthusiasm makes you electrified and energized. If you are inspired, you become creative, joyful, beautiful. When you are courageous, when you love, and so on, you dedicate your life. These aspects are not emotions, thoughts, or opinions. They are energies which are contacted and assimilated through chewing or through meditation. So we mentally chew these energies, break them down, and then absorb them in our heart. Not the intellect. Not the intellect. Our heart. So when I talk about meditation, I'm not talking about a removed mystical experience in which you close your eyes and go on a trip. I used to really hope that that's the way it was, but I learned that that's not the case. I had some really great spiritual mentors. Says, no. I was talking to him about Kundalini experiences and all the things that occurred. He says, no. You start with active meditation, not mystical meditation. Meditation is a system of assimilating energies, especially those energies which fall into the category of inspiration. Inspiration is contact with greater ideas. That's inspiration. Contact with greater ideas and plans that are in the minds of greater beings. Greater beings. You contact them, and these ideas and plans pour into your system. They pour into your system because they are energies that not only expand our consciousness, but also provides vital energy to our circulatory system and our nervous system. When we have a healthy circulatory system and nervous system, we are in balance. Many times I feel exhausted because of so much work, emails, and distractions. After 1 minute of meditation, I can rise above it. When I am sick and I must lecture, my sickness will sometimes fade when I start lecturing. Inspiration galvanizes and charges our whole system. One day a man made an appointment with a spiritual teacher. The man was in a very critical state of inertia. The teacher gave him 3 sentences upon which to meditate. One sentence was to be used each week for 3 weeks. 1 question per week for 3 weeks. The man commented to the teacher, "What can words do?" The teacher said, "It is not the words that matter. You are going to put your mind into action, active meditation. Your mind will expand, refining and fusing with the energy of the planet feeding your system." That was the answer that this teacher gave that man of inertia. And these are the 3 sentences that the teacher gave the man. The first one, remember, he's supposed to work with this question or statement for a whole week. "I have great potentials in me that I must call into action." See, this is a person, a man or a woman of inertia. And so this was the seed thought. I have great potentials in me that I must call into action. Now, potentials are not something that we imagine that we're going to be, or we desire, or we wish we could be. Potential is what you bring into this lifetime through your soul. Those are some of those ideas that were given to you in previous incarnations that you played out a little bit, you experienced a little bit, or to a great extent, and must continue on in this life, but it's still a potential, see, until you put it into action. I have great potentials in me that I must call into action. Number 2, the next week, you know what the next question is. What are those potentials, right? For a whole week, what are those potentials that I must call into action? And then the 3rd week, how and where can I use them? 2 months later, the man had remodeled his house and attained a better job. He became happy and vibrant. Meditation fuses us with the energies of nature which vitalize our entire life. It is very important to learn the art of meditation because it will make your life successful. Because of the light you receive during meditation, you will do no wrong, even if by chance you happen to make a mistake, and it's almost guaranteed. You're going to work hard not to repeat that mistake. Because you are coming in contact with the love of nature, you're not going to waste energy anymore. You will come to understand its value as well as the goals and labors toward which you're going to need to work. You do not throw your money here and there to the wind. It is also important not to waste your energy and your time. Time is very important. This is such an important thought to realize and then to practice. Time is so important. If you keep someone waiting for you, is this right? Who are you to make somebody else wait for you? Where is your sense of responsibility? Time is very important. If it is not important to you, then at least respect the other person's time and do not make them wait for you. Even if you are more important than the one who is waiting for you. The other day, Memorial Day, I watched many, many people on TV. I watched many, many people wait for the head of our country to arrive for the Memorial Day ceremony. I sat there and waited and waited and waited. And I knew what everybody, or who everybody was waiting for. I came into the program a little bit late, but I didn't have to have somebody have to tell me who everybody was waiting for, because this is part of his pattern. Those many people were standing in the hot sun. The armed service men and women who were standing at perfect attention in front of the tomb of the unknown soldier, waiting, waiting, waiting along with the rest of the world. Imagine this, one person asking the rest of the world to wait, to begin a ceremony to honor those who died in service to protect this country. We must meditate daily to obtain our daily portion of spiritual food. Just as our stomach must be filled with breakfast, we also want to be changed spiritually with great visions, great blessings and energies, so that whomever we touch, whatever we do the best we can in the name of the Almighty One. If a portion of humanity charged itself every morning in this manner, what changes we could bring. So in conclusion, I'm going to give you a very simple outline for meditation if you've never meditated or are not familiar with active meditation. There's 7 steps. The first is to find a peaceful corner in your home in which to meditate. Sit relaxed and then withdraw your consciousness. 2, breathe regularly. Don't do a forced breath. Don't pant. Don't forget to breathe. Just breathe regularly. Then you're going to sound 3 ohms. We suggest you sound 3 different notes for each ohm because each note represents a different body. But if you are tone deaf and you don't know how to sound 3 ohms harmoniously, then just sound 1 ohm and 3 ohms on 1 note. It's okay. Number 4, now you're going to meditate on your chosen seed thought for 10 minutes. That's it. And we recommend that you pick a virtue. Let that be your chosen seed thought for 10 minutes. 10 minutes, you're done, and the 5th step is then to close by sounding another 3 ohms. The 6th step is open your eyes, sit relaxed for a few moments, and then write your findings. And then number 7, get up and engage. Go on, go feed your dogs. That's it. If you don't have any dogs, feed your cat, and if you don't, then just go have your breakfast. Okay. Okay, so that's meditation and concentration.